Hi is a strange day because I'm wanting to say Fun Friday and we're going to have fun. But a few hours ago, we just got some really interesting news that school was going to be closed for the duration of the school year. And I'm happy to be here and happy to use art as a place for our energy. But I have to be very honest because that's who I am. I kind of wear my heart on my sleeve for better, for worse, whatever that means. I knew in my heart that we probably wouldn't be going back. Um, and I thought I was completely prepared for it. And I thought that um, all the teachers would be prepared for it and all the students would be prepared for it. And a few hours ago, when we learned this information, I'm realizing a lot of us aren't really prepared for it. And it's not the part of doing school. How do we do school? Because I think a lot of teachers thinking about the way that I always would end a school year, particularly when I had a lot of seniors in my classes and my students. Maybe they remember this, maybe they don't, but I remember this because it's something I did every year. And it was last day of school, I would always read them, Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. And when it was over, some of them would look at me with these big alligator tears in their eyes. And I didn't really not have those same tears in my eyes. And I would say, okay, so goodbye and see you at graduation because I don't do goodbye very well. No, not at all. And then at graduation, um, it's incredible because our staff, when the ceremony is over, would line up in the hallway and the seniors would walk through the line of the staff and the entire staff would clap the seniors through. And when it was done, the seniors are waving and they're proud. And it's an incredible moment for both the staff and the students. And I'm just realizing then when that was over, I always would duck out the back with my husband and try to really hard not to see the kids because it's hard for me to say goodbye. And so knowing now that we're not going to be able to say goodbye to our seniors is, I think, it's hard. And even not just necessarily seniors, think of little kids who are leaving elementary school and going to junior high. Like my son MJ is finishing fifth grade and he's going to junior high. And that's got to be hard, right? Not to see his elementary school people anymore. And so I think it's important that we just kind of pause for a second and allow time for that to set in a little bit, because that's kind of what I want to do. So I think it's important to be present. And so this thing that we're doing today is we're going to make a mandala. And mandalas are, mandala means circle in Sanskrit. And there's a lot of religions that use mandalas as a form of meditation. It's a meditative practice. And to a lot of times they'd be made and then destroyed after because it was just sort of part of the process to think, focus, meditate, pray, and then wipe it away and move forward. So mandalas have been proven to be extremely beneficial for anxiety and helping with that. So I thought, what a great way to deal with kind of today. And it's a good skill to have. It's a good place to put our energy. So today we're going to start with a piece of paper and the things we're going to use for this. I'm going to show you guys how to make mandalas using stamps. Now I have some, so I'm telling you about the materials first. I happen to have some stamps with me, but maybe you don't have any stamps. Maybe what you could do to make a stamp is grab some Q-tips and gather them up with your hair tie, like I did, or a rubber band. And then I'm just going to use the edge of it and I'm going to dab it into my ink pad. Now, if you don't have an ink pad, that's okay too. Maybe you have some watercolor paint. And I have found that if I use watercolor paint, I could use a brush and brush it onto my stamp and that will work just as well. So that's another trick. The good old toilet paper roll will make a nice stamp that's a circle shape. I have found using a fork will make nice lines for a stamp. And I took the cap off one of my makeup bottles, and that's another stamp that I have that I'm going to use. So If you don't have a regular stamp, no worry, okay? So we're gonna get started on a piece of paper. A mandala has concentric circles, so they all have the same center. I want you to draw a circle in the middle of your paper, as close to the middle as you can get. And once you draw that, and I know I have some kids who are doing this with me, and I have some adults too. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a 1 minute pause, and we're gonna fill that circle up with some things that are in our mind. We're gonna take what's called a brain dump. We're gonna dump the stuff that's just weighing on us right inside this circle. So I'm literally gonna give us a minute to do that, okay? And then we are going to let that go. So take a minute for yourself. Go ahead. We're about halfway in. I'm writing on top of these words, and maybe you can't see mine and I can't see yours, and that's okay. Just let everything in there. Oh, it's kind of fun to do, trust me. Okay, that's been about a minute. So now we took our brain dump. Now what we're gonna do is take that same piece of paper, we're gonna flip it over and draw a circle in the same area on the other side. So I'm gonna take this, flip it over, and I'm gonna draw a circle right in the middle. As close as I can get to an object, like a bowl makes a great center, or again, I'm trying to use objects in my house, or again, that trusty toilet paper roll makes a good center. But either way, draw a circle. Okay. When you draw your circle, what I want you to do here is I want you to think about a mantra. A mantra is a something you say to yourself every day that kind of helps you get through situations. So the mantra that I am going to choose is that instead of hiding from what's happening around me, my mantra is going to be present today. So I'm going to write that right in the middle. Be present today. Because if I don't face what's in front of me, then it ends up going here and it ends up going here and I end up going a little crazy. So this is going to help me, I hope anyway. So hopefully you have something that will work for you that you can put in there. Okay. So now we're going to get started with making our mandala. And you can just fill some bigger circles around this and start filling it in with some geometric shapes and lines. But I am going to focus more on stamping because that's what I said I was going to do. So I'm going to get my first stamp ready, my ink pad. Did you know that if you have a stamp pad, an ink pad, and it starts drying up, if you just add a little water, it's like brand new again. I know that because I found this stamp pad in my daughter's one of her old craft kits, and I was like, oh no, there's no more ink. But no, I added water and crisis averted. We're all good. All right, so I did this. I'm going to go right up to the edge and I'm going to press. Okay, now I'm going to do this same thing all the way around a couple times. So whatever your shape is, go ahead and put it around a couple times. It's very repetitive. We're very quiet today. and that's okay. If you're doing that method of using like watercolor paint to go around, then have a paper towel because if it gets drippy, you're going to want to try and catch it. Or you're not going to want to try and catch it and you're not going to worry about it because that's what I would say. It happens. Oops. Okay. Okay. I saw when I was looking at some do-it-yourself stamps, I found a person who made stamps, and it's not just one person, lots of people, out of potatoes. I was like, what? Stop the press. That was a pretty clever idea. So I definitely wanted to try that, but I didn't have time today. Okay, so I have my stamps. They went around. That was nifty. Now I'm going to try some other shape, and I'm going to go around. So it's like this wreath sort of thing. I'm going to try my Q-tips now. So I'm going to take the end of my Q-tips, and I think it's nice to bunch them up with like a hair tie or rubber band or something, because then it's definitely going to be more of a repetitive pattern. I think that will look cool. So got my Q-tips, got my ink. Here we go. And I'm doing like the second layer of circle around. Now, I definitely am not, I did not make this method up. There was a art therapist blog that I follow that no longer exists that I saw a person who had used stamps to make these mandalas with her clients. And I'm like, oh, that's a pretty nifty way to do it. If somebody is feeling like, I can't have ever colored in a mandala coloring book. Has anyone ever done that before? Because they're totally soothing to do and they're mindless. I always liked coloring in those because I didn't have to fill in the page and I didn't have to think. I just got to color, which was awesome. But sometimes I think it's better to be the person creating the shapes on the page because it requires more of your brain, right? It requires more of that brain power. And I think, so it's not perfect, but it's working. I'll take it. So anyway, I think the process of making this is a little more calming to it is. I'm going to take my cap now, my makeup cap. Maybe you're in your house trying to come up with some stamps. That would be cool. So I'm going to go ahead and put these around. This week would have been our staff recognition dinner at Oakwan. And this would have been my 20th year. Well, it is my 20th year. Myself, along with two other awesome educators, my friend Lauren and my friend Pat. And I think that had we gotten to celebrate that, it would have been really nice. So it's hard not to be able to be with your coworkers, especially when you have awesome coworkers like I do, and they're your friends. So it is particularly difficult. I imagine it's difficult for lots of people not to be with their people. Okay, so the problem with it's not really a problem. This is one that definitely you're going to want to get inside your head while you're doing this. And so I'm going to go around here and then I'm going to stop adding to this. If you want to keep going, you please do that. You definitely should do that. I'm just going to finish this circle and go all the way around. And then I'm going to show you how to add a little bit of color to this. You know, there's a couple ways you could do the color. You could grab crayons. If you're feeling like that, then grab crayons. You could use watercolor paint, which is what I'm going to use. You could use colored pencils. but you're going to see that you have all these great little spaces to color within. And I kind of created these paths to go around, and I'm going to use a marker. Make sure this is a thicker marker. And I'm going to create some of these lines to define these spaces a little bit. Okay. Maybe join some of them together. So that it looks like a kind of section, I guess is what I want to say. And it helps define where I'm going to color inside of. So like, here's one circle, there's another row, and there's another row. And that's going to help me because what I'm going to do is I'm going to add color to within these rows. This is definitely a homemade mandala. There is nothing totally concentric about it. And I'm okay with that. If you need it to be perfect, you could get a ruler and you could divide this up into sections and make everything symmetrical. But that requires a certain kind of brain power that right now I honestly don't have. And I hope that's okay. So I'm going to get my watercolor paint now, and I'm going to start filling in the rings. Let's see what I want to do here. I'm going to put this orange in the middle. Use what I have here, and then I'm just going to go around and I'm going to add a different color to each row. I'll be analogous. So I think I'll keep moving. This is a rough day. So I'm not necessarily red, but I'm definitely, you know, like mood meter type. Like I'm not angry, but I'm definitely not, I'm not like joyful right now. So I guess I'm feeling the colors are like worms, you know, and they might end up going toward the blue and purple. So we'll see how we do here. I'm going to change the next color. I'm going to get a little bit lighter here. Maybe I'm going to go like a yellow orange. Okay. And if you have to wait for your stamps to dry, smudgy, that's a word, smudgy. I hope that my friend Maya is at her house trying this today. I brought her a little stamp that I had, and her sister Lane something to do. So hopefully she's out there doing that today. Okay, my next row, I'm gonna go a little bit red violet here. Okay. And this one's going to be my Q-tip ring. But it is fun to add the color on top of those dark patterns that you have. It looks cool. I think it does. I don't know. I don't know what your experience is because I can't see you. Again, there's that whole teaching remotely thing is difficult when you can't see your people and you don't know what they're doing. But I do love when you all send me the pictures when this is over. I have a nice collection of them growing. And those of you who are my neighbors, I love it when you put it in the window because then I can see it and that's fun. But yeah, I love seeing what it is that you're doing. So I'm going to add one more ring around here, but I think before I do, I'm going to get my marker and I'm going to add some design work into here. So maybe what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do kind of like a continuous line, like a swirl. I completely recommend this move. Okay, so watch what I'm doing. It's a continuous line. And this is one of the most calming and like just I I don't know what it is. It feels almost cathartic every time I do this, like, oh yeah, I just let something go. And so when you're doing this, you can almost take some of that stuff you wrote on the other side. And with each one of these, I can choose to let it go. So anyone who knows me knows that I'm a huge fan of self awareness and self management. I think that a lot of what we do right now in education and in society is we help everybody become aware of their emotions, and we talk about how are we feeling and how's your stress, but I don't necessarily know if we do enough to help everybody know how to manage it. So it's one thing to be aware that you're in a place, like if you're feeling joyful or if you're feeling down, or if you, but it's another thing to know how to do something with that energy that you're having. And this is one of my techniques. It's simple, it's basic, but it works. Swirling, a continuous swirl. If you do anything today and you try that, I really want you to think and see if that does something and lets it go. To the end of our Art Fun Friday. This is my mandala. It's definitely not perfect. I'm not perfect. This situation is not perfect, but I'm going to work on being present today. And I hope that you were able to find a mantra, and maybe you didn't write anything in there yet, because maybe you do want to take time to really find one and develop it. And maybe you don't, but I just wanted to offer this to you, and I hope that you had fun with me this Friday, and I hope that you let go of some of the stuff in your mind with your mandala. So be well, be safe, take care, and I will see you next Friday. Bye.